Hi, folks. I'm doing a couple of stories today because I've fallen behind, and I also got sidetracked telling you guys about the alien or the lenticular cloud. And this time I want to talk about a haunted house in Mount Shasta. That's one of my dogs behind me. He's a rescue dog. His name's Peepaw. I'm kind of glad he's here, actually. Okay, so I lived in this home, and I mean, these things can be verified by some of my family members. Everybody's had an experience there, and I think I've talked a little bit about it before. But the one thing that would get to me is that I would be in bed, and my husband would get up and go to bed or go to work around 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. And this is Monday through Friday. But I so often would hear boots, going down the hallway. And there were a couple times that when I checked, he doesn't always wear boots because in the wintertime, yeah, there's snow, but in the summertime, no, he'd wear tennis shoes. Well, it turns out those boots that I was hearing weren't his because he wasn't even in the house. He wasn't even on the property. He was already long gone. He'd gone to work. Sorry, I'm getting eaten up my feet by mosquitoes down here, so pardon me as I shift around a lot. But ooh, yuck. Oh, I got that reminds me of another story. So anyway, these boots I would hear in the hallway all the time. Well, to top it off, there was a time where I wanted to remove some carpet. Because this is an old house. First of all, there used to be like well over 100 acres, maybe more, maybe a couple 100 acres with the original property. And then it was parted and sold off over the years. And at this point we had just under 5 acres, I think, 4 acres, something like that. Nothing huge, but enough. And so, a lot of history on this property, a lot of history. Not all of it was good. Some of it was great, but there were some bad things that took place just right up the hill from us, which wasn't our property, but originally it was. Not ours, but originally it was part of the original homestead. So anyway, I pull up the carpet, and in one bedroom and in the hall, I just had a gut feeling right before my bedroom. I just knew there was going to be a blood stain. I really thought there was going to be a blood stain when I pulled up the carpet right there. And there was. There, without a doubt, there was a blood stain. And I mean, it was big like this. Now, there's nothing I can do about it. This is old, and who knows, it could have been there for however old the house was. I mean, 75 years or something. It could have been there that long. I don't know, 50 years. There's not really a whole lot I can do. And, I mean, and call a police. What are they going to do? Nothing. So, that was kind of creepy. Then I would lay in bed, and so often I would feel the covers being pulled off me really slow. And I would get cold, and I'd wake up feeling these covers coming off me because it's cold. It snows there. I mean, it gets cold. And one time, finally, I just got angry, and I said, quit pulling off the F da 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 covers. And it never happened after that. It never happened after that. I would also feel little animals jump up on the bed. I'd feel these little boom, boom, boom. Like but I didn't see anything, but I could feel it. And I would think like my little dog, I had these little toy poodles. Like it's like they made it. They jumped up there on the bed, and no, they're down in their own little floor in their own little bed. I mean, just there were so many things. One time, twice actually, pictures flew off the wall. And one time was in the middle of the night, and it was scary because it was glass and it just shattered. And my son, who was just a boy at the time, was sleeping on the couch. And it's just like, could there have been volcanic we lived at the base of a volcano. It's Mount Shasta. We lived, where is it possible that there was like a little earthquake or something? Sure, of course. But the way it projected how far it went in just that one picture, that's the strange thing. And then another time I had a picture of the Ten Commandments. That flew off the wall too. That was wooden. And let's see what else. Another time my mother tried to get in the house. Oh yeah, and I already told you about the ghost, but I'll tell you again in case this is the first time watching the channel. Um, Another time my mother came over and we never locked our doors. We didn't need to, not where we were at. At least we didn't think we needed to. And she thought that somebody was on the other side holding the door and not letting her in. And I mean, she struggled and she played and she's like, okay, kids, knock it off, or Darla, da da da. And like the doorknob's moving and all that. And then finally she gets in and there's nobody home. And she's looking around, there's nobody. And she looks outside and she realized, no, the vehicles are gone. And then she was really creeped out by that. And she told me about that. I was like, Darla, I'm worried. Another time I came home and one of the chairs was up under the doorknob, like to stop you from coming in, but it was just one door. So I couldn't get in that door, but I came around and that's how I got in. One of my favorites where I think that I might have had a good ghost there. I have a feeling there was a couple. I know there was a female for sure. I saw her. But first, before that one, the one thing that would happen over and over and over and over again is in a little water bottle, I would keep olive oil and I would put it up on my stove because my stove had like, let's see if you guys can see that much, like that much room. It had quite a shelf on the top of it, and I could keep the seasonings that I used often, even though I know now that was probably not the best thing for the seasonings, but these are the ones I used all the time and it would go quick. But I also kept olive oil in a water bottle. And one day I came home. Well, first of all, every time it would be knocked over. It was always knocked over on the stove or the counter, depending whereabouts on that little shelf I kept it. But typically it was on the stove. It was knocked over, knocked over, knocked over. And then one time it was knocked over and there was oil everywhere. And it was kind of like, oh, okay, you really don't want me to keep it up there in case of a fire or something. That's what I was truly thinking. I felt like that was the message I was supposed to have. And so I just set it off to the side after that on the counter, and it was never knocked over again. There was nothing wrong with the bottom because I checked to make sure that maybe that's why it was falling over. It wasn't the bottle itself. It was something else knocking it over. And once I removed it from the stove, it was fine. Okay, last story in that house that I can well, I had a lot of vivid dreams too, but that would be a different episode. Okay, I was sitting, we had family fun night. I know I've told this before, but in case you missed it, we would have Friday family fun night and all the kids and as adults would get together and we would play games. It was a blast. The energy is high. It's so great and so much fun. I mean, sometimes they would complain at first, but once we got started, it was fun. Lights are on. It's bright, high energy. Everything is great. I mean, you would never, ever, like you expect to see something behind me. You expect if it's dark out, that's when things would happen. Or this was just a very comforting moment. And I think that might be what attracts ghosts sometimes also because the energy is so high. I see the lady in white just walk by. She walks by the doorway and through the piano, through the wall into the hall. And then I think it was my mother-in-law, my ex-mother-in-law, but I'm not positive because it's just this lady in white, but I felt like it was her. But anyway, it's a woman. It might have been the one that was there originally. I did find a picture, an old picture once. And so, and that would have been her bedroom. And so I couldn't say anything because I didn't want to freak out the kids. However, fast forward a year or something, or to winter, and I tell my son I need him to go out to get some wood outside and go. And this is my son that would never argue with me. He's such a good boy. He's like, no, Mom, I can't. I'm like, why? He goes, not until that lady in white's gone. Now, he didn't know about her. I didn't tell anybody. I'm not going to freak out my family. And so he saw her too. And, so that home, it was haunted. Without a doubt, it was haunted. But nothing like major, nothing really bad. I had it blessed. I had a priest come in, an Orthodox priest. He blessed it. It was shortly after that I moved. I don't recall anything after that. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, but I don't recall anything. Okay, Do you have a haunted house that you've ever lived in, or know of somebody? Have you had near-death experiences or guardian angels save your life? Have you seen an alien? UFOs, anything that you can't explain, ghosts, cryptids like Bigfoot, anything like that? Tell me that, Dare Tell. That's the name of this program, Dare Tell. Send it in, again, mecalgal@gmail.com, and I hope to hear from you soon. Bye.